getting rid of these weak ass factory ball joints, and I'm starting right now. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Clint, and today I'm going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do for about 8 months. Ever since I trussed my front axle, you guys know I've been fussing about the ball joints and the tie rod ends. They're friggin' junk. Well, a lot of things got put behind. This whole COVID business put production of a lot of our stuff way behind schedule. About 6 months ago, Dynatrac put out basically a teaser ad saying that their heavy duty ball joints were going to be available soon. Well then, as we know, the COVID shit happened and the release date got pushed back. Now we know the OE ball joints are junk. Let me show you. So I've actually already done the passenger side. Here's the OE ball joint, the stem, the housing. You can take this dude and turn it. You should not be able to do that. This Jeep's only got 23,000 miles on it, and it's been like this since before 20,000, because I had 20,000 on it when I trussed the front axle, and that's when I noticed this. If your ball joints are weak, it can cause excessive tire wear. It can cause just a sloppy feel in the steering, and it's potentially dangerous, because if this ball joint breaks, guess where your wheel's going? As a friend of mine found out a few weeks ago at Windrock. Now, I have to throw this disclaimer in here. It wasn't just that the ball joint failed, okay? He was having some other issues. He actually broke the axle shaft on the passenger side, and he was limping out. Well, the axle shaft got bound up, which in then turn caused the ball joint to fail. But that withstanding, if your ball joint fails, you're going to have problems, and it's going to look something like this. Okay, so Spicer came out with their heavy duty ball joints, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, and I almost got those because I wanted ball joints so bad, but I kept waiting on the Dynatracs. So I know a couple people who have the Spicers, and they love them. Man, they're great. They're a big improvement over the OE ball joints. The deal with the Spicers, they're going to cost you about $400. I mean, you can probably get them for $375 to $400, somewhere in that neighborhood. They're basically $400 a set, $100 a joint. When they wear out and you have to buy new ball joints, it's another $400. Dynatrac is a rebuildable ball joint. So basically what this is, there's no ball in here. It's just a stem, and there's a heim joint that's pressed in there. So once you press the housing up into the knuckle, you don't ever have to take it out again. You just take these 2 cap screws out, tap the stem out, take the heim joint off, put the new heim joint on, put it back together. And that's, you know, you don't ever have to press this housing in and out. It takes a needle type grease adapter, so that's not a problem, but these come pre-greased anyway, so you don't have to worry about it right off the bat. The other thing is, so when you go to rebuild these, $150 for the rebuild kit, all 4 of them. So $150 to rebuild these, or $400 every time you want to change ball joints. I don't know, seems like a no-brainer to me. This, for all intents and purposes, is a ball joint eliminator because it's not a ball joint. We're going to put these in, take it down the road, see how it goes. So the first thing you're going to want to do, jack your Jeep up, put jack stands under it, take the wheels off. Got to take your brake caliper off. To do that, you need a 22mm socket, that bolt right there, and that bolt right there. Now we're going to take a T35 and take that guy right there out. Now take a 10mm, take these 3 bolts for the dust shield off. Now take a 13mm, take that guy off. Now we've got to remove the speed sensor. That's an H5. And it's not in there tight at all. Don't lose that bolt. Just pry it straight out. Set that off to the side somewhere where it's out of the way. Now take the tie rod loose. Always leave that nut on there a few turns. There it goes. Drop your tie rod. Now to remove the unit bearing. Some people call it a hub, but along with the axle shaft. So you got 3 bolts that come through the back side. One right here, one there, and then one on the other side. Turn this. See how easy that turns? That shouldn't be that easy. That's ridiculous. One there, and one right there. 13mm 12-point socket. Or wrench, whichever. Pull your unit bearing and axle shaft out. Just be careful so you don't damage your seal on the inside. Now, all we got to do, pull the cotter pins right here and right here. Take the castle nuts off and we can try to knock this knuckle off. Then we'll take a 22mm deep well. Once you've used a little persuasion, take these castle nuts all the way off. Drop the knuckle off. Don't lose that tapered sleeve. You're going to have that. You guys be careful. Oh, when you're hitting on these knuckles, make sure you're using a dead blow hammer, if at all possible, because this is nothing more than cast aluminum. This thing's light, so you don't want to tear it up either. Now, get your ball joint press. Get everything set up. And take your time right here. Don't rush this. Make sure everything's lined up well. You have to take the top out first. I'll show you why in a minute. It doesn't hurt to have a cheater bar. One junk ball joint out. Now the reason you have to do the top first is because of this.
The jack screw on the ball joint press has to go through the upper ball joint hole in the axle.
Now for the bottom, I'm going to use an impact. You don't have enough room on the top. Dynatrac instructions say to put some anti-seize in here. I've never done it before on any other ball joints I've done, but I'm going to do it here because they suggested it. And it sounds like a good idea. So, not a lot, just a little bit. These ball joints have two different part numbers, 2020 HD and 2019 HD. It doesn't matter where you use them. You can use the 19s on one side and the 20s on the other. You can use the 20s on the top and the 19s on the bottom, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. They're the exact same, and it clearly states that on the Dynatrac instructions, which you can download from the Dynatrac website. And the way these orient in here is you want the grease fitting facing the front of the axle. So it's going to go in like this. Now you guys be extremely careful when you're putting these new ball joints in. You've got to take the time to make sure that everything's square and everything's straight, because if you start pressing it up in there crooked, you can gouge out this end of this axle, and you're going to have some trouble getting ball joints in or out from here on out. So, and you may damage the new ball joint. So be careful. Take your time here. Make sure it's all lined up and straight before you start putting any pressure to it. There you go. There we go. The bottom one's in. These come with a snap ring. If you can see, it's got a beveled edge here for the snap ring to go into. The snap ring will not go on the bottom, so don't freak out and think you've done something wrong. It's because of the way the axle is made. It's just the angle, and you can't get it on there. So don't worry about that on the bottom one. One thing I did forget to mention, when you're pressing these in, you do not want to get here on the lip. You want to press it in right here. So I actually bought the install kit, which it was more of a precaution because my ball joint kit had an adapter that fits here, and that's what this is the part of the install kit from Dynatrac. It just makes sure that it sits there when you install to try to press that ball joint in. You do not want it here. Again, take your time, make sure everything's lined up and straight, which I don't think that is. There we go, that's better. Take your time and watch this as it's going in here. There we go. And remember what I said about this snap ring? My snap ring pliers ain't man enough to put these snap rings on. So I'm not putting this on. If you think about it, your OE ball joints didn't have a snap ring either. Now the reason they do this is this, for the first time, both ball joints press in from the same direction. It used to be one pressed in from the top, one pressed in from the bottom. And if you think about it, that put, when your vehicle was sitting at ride height, that put all the weight on one ball joint. This is the one good thing that FCA did this, or maybe this wasn't even FCA, this may have been Dana. But they pressed the ball joints in from the same direction, so now that all four ball joints are carrying the weight rather than just one on each side. The problem with that is, if you're running hard, hitting that skinny pedal, and you get airborne, there's nothing holding it in there. So that's why Dynatrac puts these C-clips, so at least the top one is held in there. I don't think it's going to go anywhere anyway, but that's why it's there. Per Dynatrac instructions, torque the bottom castle nut to 15 foot-pounds to start. Then torque the top one to 55 foot-pounds. Then go back to the bottom and torque it to 35 foot-pounds. Then just make sure your holes in the castle nut line up for your cotter pins.
Now just go back and put it all back together in the reverse order that you took it off.
So just got back from test drive. I gotta tell you guys something. It feels like a whole different Jeep now. With the OEM ball joints, I had a ton of bump steer. All the other steering upgrades I've done, the sector shaft and track bar bracket, heavy duty tie rod and drag link, and now these Dynatrac HD ball joints, The bump steer is completely gone, which is an awesome thing. I do not wander on the road anymore. And another thing that was real noticeable to me, and I was really paying attention for it when I started it up and backed out of the driveway, when I would turn the wheel, I used to hear this just terrible pop. And I was like, oh man, it's either a U-joint or it's a ball joint. And apparently it was the ball joints, because that didn't happen this time, and I cut the wheel hard. So yeah, I'm real happy with these Dynatrac heavy duty ball joints. They're gonna run you about 630 bucks, but like I said, to rebuild them, it's only 150. You guys, I hope you like this video. I hope you learned something about it, and this isn't a hard job. 3 or 4 hours in an afternoon, you guys can do this as long as you got the tools. You guys remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Till the next time, keep the shiny side up. Jeep on.